Good day everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Cailyn and this is Foundation First. Today we're going to talk about the way that children learn and us as humans as a whole, but more specifically children in early childhood development. The way that animals and humans take in information is through their senses. We know our basic senses as sight, touch, smell, taste, hearing, and we also consider vestibular, which is our balance, and proprioception is our position in space. So in preschool years, we consider these different senses, and this is how we take in information from the world around us. Therefore, it would make sense for us to teach children in a multisensory environment. This means that they're exposed to information firing all their different senses. Their handwriting as letters and numbers in rice, sand, etc., and all the different colors that you see incorporated in these activities. This is because the teacher is trying to ignite all those different senses to enable the child to really take in the information in many different ways. Sometimes you may also see some other sensory additions, such as scents added to the activity like Play-Doh. You may add a texture to the Play-Doh like rice or something like glitter, or you might even add an essence to ignite the olfactory sense, which is your smell. This is why when teaching young children, it is encouraged that approaches, including teaching something like numeracy or learning to read and write, is done with a multisensory approach. Once you ignite all those senses, it is a better chance that that child will, one, be encouraged to use that area and practice that skill, and it'll also encourage them to retain the information for a little bit longer. It is also important to know that when we don't work on those sensory inputs, sometimes they can fire too hard or not fire enough. This is when children become sensory defensive or sensory seeking. Sensory defensive is when children have access to a certain sensory input that they completely avoid. This could be in a way of something tactile, where the tactile sense is really heightened and there's certain textures that that child will absolutely not want to touch. This may be in their hands, mouth, or walking without shoes on their feet. So they may struggle walking on gravel or walking on grass. This is why it's actually important for children to walk barefoot very often, because this will also help tame that sensory overload when children are growing and those sensory inputs are being ignited. Another way that this could happen is that children may become sensory defensive in their mouths. So they might not like to eat certain textures. I know I was very much like this. Crunchy textures, it was very specific, but it was textures that put me off food. I much better have grown out of it with a lot of effort. It didn't just happen with a lot of effort. I pushed myself through it, I worked myself through it, and I'm a lot better. This may be in other sensory ways, such as auditory, where children may get very overwhelmed in loud spaces, in closed rooms, where they might really struggle with the echoing of empty spaces. This also is a red flag for certain developmental delays or struggles, and this is something that, if you're concerned, you can bring up with your child's teacher or any other educational specialists. So the other one is sensory seeking. This is when children really seek a certain texture, where they seek something really soft or the way a movement may feel on their body. So some children, they'll seek a movement like rocking back and forth, or they may feel like they need to touch something and it helps soothe them when they are upset or overstimulated. This is what we call sensory seeking. So there you have it. This is why it's important to create a multisensory approach in a preschool classroom and through early childhood development. It's important to provide children with lots of different sensory experiences to help them ignite those sensory inputs and really get them taking in as much information as possible, and also enabling them to be in a place where they can take in that information. If they are sensory avoidant, this may prevent them from having certain experiences that could lead to certain learnings. So this is why it's important for us to encourage children to have many different sensory experiences that are age and developmentally appropriate. So thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like and subscribe to see what more is coming up next. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on my next one.